Okay, hey there. I did a video previously showing how I treated some sharp frets, uh, a guitar that had some fret sprout going on, and I've done it several times uh, with pretty decent results. Um, and the last video I made got some really good comments from people, so I thought I would sort of address them this time. And this was kind of an interesting one too, because in the last video I showed that I usually use this flat file, and my first step is to go along the edge of the neck this way and file off any kind of ends of the frets that are sticking over. What's interesting about this guitar is they're just kind of sharp, but when you run this file, you're already on wood. So it's not like they're really protruding. The ends of them are just kind of squared off and sharp, I think is probably what the deal is. And then if you watch that other video, I'll put a link up on the edge there. But after that, the flat file, I went to this Stumac fret end dressing file and sort of rounded off the ends, rolled the fret ends using that kind of a technique, and eventually sanded with some micro mesh pads and stuff. But some guys mentioned that I might start with a little bit rougher grit of sandpaper, so I'll try that this time on this one. I'm not going to get anything out of this because they're not really sticking over the edge here. So I think what I'll do this time is just go straight to rounding the ends of the frets a little bit, and then I'll try some different sanding techniques and see where we can get with it. So by the way, guys, if you think you get any value out of this video, please consider hitting the like down below, subscribing, or leaving me some comments that are constructive. The more likes I get, the more likely I am to spend the time to do another video like this. I'm going to the bass side of the neck just because it's easier to film this side with the camera. I'm getting pretty much the same thing. The frets aren't really popped out in the end. They're just sharp and uncomfortable. One guy asked about what happens because you're going to take off some wood and it's going to show a different color, and yeah, that does happen, especially on something like this. This is a road worn, and so the wood's been treated here to look kind of stained and old, and when you take away that top layer, you will get a little bit of a different color there. I told him that I don't usually worry too much about that because the benefits of having a comfortable playing neck far outweigh a little bit of discoloration that's probably gonna right itself after the guitar is played for a while, I would think, because of hand oils and dirt getting back into those areas. Using this fret dressing file, the way I do it, which I learned from watching other videos myself, is to first of all use it at an angle of the bevel, and the very first thing to just knock off, see if there's any little bit maybe hanging over. I'll start with fret 1 and just knock off just a few passes there. And hopefully this will just take off a little bit of the metal at the edge. And now we go to using the side of the file that is squared off as opposed to rounded. This is the side that can mark the wood, so you have to be careful. And the way I do it is about a 45-degree angle with the fret, and you don't do too many passes here. You can go back and forth. You're just taking off the squared edge of the fret end. Okay, so that's what you use that flat side for on this Then you flip it over, and you're going to use the rounded side. That one's the safe side, and this is where you kind of do the rounding to the end of the fret. And that's kind of the motion there. Is you're at a downward angle and you kind of taper it off that way, and you go back and forth on both sides. I'm going to stop the camera in a second and then do one whole side of this neck so that when I come back I can do some sanding and show that. A couple things worth noting. I just did this one side of the neck. Took me about 20 minutes. I watched somebody else's video and they said this is not something to do if you don't have patience. It really is time consuming, and to do it right takes some time for sure, and it's kind of meticulous. A couple things I thought about while I was up here. I've seen Stu Mac guys do this, and I know it's the safe way to do it. Probably doesn't matter quite as much with a road worn guitar, but you know, they'll take some cardboard and cover up the body, which if you're working with a pristine guitar would really make sense. Once you start getting up here and you're doing this kind of motion near the body, if you don't have it all taped off with some cardboard or something, you could easily scratch the body. So that's something to watch out for. The other thing when I do this and I think about it is I do up to, you know, some guys said remove the neck, you'll get at things easier, and you know, so far that's just not the way I do it. If you want to remove the neck, it might make things easier if you put it in a vise or whatever, but I don't. Once you get up really high like this, to me it makes a little bit less difference because, right, your hand's not sliding up here. Your hand just doesn't slide up there. And likewise, to me, the bottom of the neck is more important than the top, because when you're playing, that's really where your hand's gonna get the most damage sliding. Now I know your thumb could get hurt up on the top, and that could be uncomfortable too, so it's worth doing the top. But all I'm saying is the treble side of the neck to me is really the important one to get right, because that's going to cause you the most pain. I think earlier I was showing doing it this way just because it was easier to show on camera, but technique wise, at least for me, it makes the most sense to be working on the side of the neck that's away from you over here. It makes that that rounding motion that you do, for me anyway, a lot easier to do when the neck's facing away from you. The side that you're working on is facing away from you. I'm going to try a little sanding here. I've finished with the fret and dressing file on the whole side of the neck here. The first thing is to try the 400. I'm going to use a little soft sanding block, and I'm going to use WD-40. I'm doing kind of a circular motion on the edge of the frets here. And then I'll do back and forth as well. Okay, I don't want to overdo it, so I'm going to move on to the 600 here pretty quick. Let's go 1,000. Now I'm on to some of these micro mesh sanders. Maybe I'll try the 1500. These are nice because they just kind of fit in your hand and you can bend them, and they're perfect for something like this. And then I was going to finish off with this sanding stick. It's got 3 different grits on it. Since I've gone through all those micro mesh, I'm just going to finish up with the finest grit on this side, which is 12,000. And you can do this kind of a thing with this. Yeah, this side's feeling really good. It's not a bad idea to actually do some polish as a last step too. If you want to really nerd out on it, you can take different kinds of abrasive polish and make that be your last step after the sanding. This one's called Virtuoso Premium Cleaner, and that's a really good one for metal or for paint. It's great for like getting rid of little surface scratches that are just like minor scratches. Okay, so here's what these guys look like after the full treatment. Pretty rounded on the end and pretty highly buffed. So yeah, the guy who bought this guitar is going to be a lot happier, I think, now that I've done this. If I had sent it off the way those fret ends were before, it wouldn't have been a real fun experience. Just a kind of a painful thing when they're that sharp. I hope this helped some of you guys. Sorry if this video ran too long. Be sure to like the video and definitely comment down below. I know there's a lot of different methods people do this, and I'm sure there's a lot of good techniques that I can still learn on this too, so feel free to enlighten me.